This is Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where each week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry, and we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week we'll be speaking with Megan Hussey, the Feminist Sexpert. ASB Cash, the affiliate program for Adult Site Broker, would like to announce we've doubled our affiliate payouts. That's right. Now when you refer sellers or buyers to us at Adult Site Broker, you'll receive 10% of our broker commission on any and all sales that result from that referral. You can either place a link to us on your site or refer buyers and sellers through an email introduction. ASB Cash is the first affiliate program for an adult website brokerage. Check out asbcash.com for more details and to sign up. Now let's feature our property of the week that's for sale at Adult Site Broker. We're proud to offer a hentai and game site network. The company has an Italian hentai pay site and the most popular Italian hentai free site, plus a popular game pay site. The free site has Italian hentai comics and videos and 52,000 daily views. The adult Italian game site makes over 40,000 euros a month. The hentai comics and video site makes over 11,000 euros monthly. There are also Telegram channels for the sites that are included, as well as a Patreon page. All of the sites have a ton of content, and the traffic is mostly organic. No advertising has been purchased. This is an amazing opportunity for anyone with hentai or game traffic. There is also all the necessary material to learn and manage the business included in the sale. Only 1.5 million euros. Now time for this week's interview. My guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk is Megan Hussey, the Feminist Sexpert at Sexpert.com. Megan, thanks for being with us today on Adult Site Broker Talk.
Oh, thank you, Bruce. I'm very happy to be here.
It's a pleasure. Now, Megan, as I said, is the Feminist Sexpert at Sexpert.com. She's a USA Today bestselling erotica author and feminist activist who has written for publications that include Playgirl, Good Vibrations, and Scandalous Women, and sites that include Shush.com and Blush Erotica. She's a winner of 6 romance industry awards and a femme porn influencer who reviews and recommends good porn and erotica for women. She lives in Florida. So, and one thing I didn't add there, which you've kind of added recently, you're writing some movie scenes, I guess, huh?
Yes. Actually, just debuted on Blush Erotica is my good friend Lily Craven, and the scene is called Mommy's Favorite Son-in-Law with a beautiful young man, a newcomer named Milan. And like I was telling you earlier, probably with Lily and Milan on the screen, I'm not sure if anybody will actually be listening to the dialogue, but they should.
Nah, we were just BSing before that. So tell us more about your work as the Feminist Sexpert for Sexpert.com and a correspondent for Scandalous Women.
Yes. Well, basically, as an adult journalist, I always wanted to present the women's point of view and the feminist point of view. I feel that it's still underrepresented. And so with in both cases, through my interviews, I have an interview series at each site, and then I also have some opinions and commentaries at Sexpert, and also even like reviews and historical pieces. And really my aim is to educate women about what's available to them in terms of erotic entertainment, movies that are good for them, stars that they should watch out for, and maybe even some things to avoid, and so that's really the aim, of each column.
Yeah, really before sites like Angie Roundtree did with Shush.com, there really wasn't a lot of porn for women, was there?
No, no, and I am so thrilled to work with Angie. I write erotica stories for her site and also have done some audio scripts, and she's a revolutionary. It's an honor to work with her. And yes, I mean, there was her and Candida Royale and, just a handful of other directors that
Hmm.
really got the ball rolling. And there are other creators out there today, that I'm thrilled to see more of it, definitely.
Absolutely. Do you see more of this happening as there are more women in porn?
Yes, definitely. I think that the more women that we have in terms of directing and writing,
Yep.
I know
Hmm.
that with Feminist Sexpert, I've interviewed
Hmm.
Angie. I've interviewed Jennifer Lyon Bell, Ms. Naughty, Erica Lust. And
Hmm.
I'm about to write interview Inca Winters and also Stacey Lyle, who is an executive
Hmm.
with Blush. And yes, there are more women on the creative side, both women who got in directly as directors and writers, but
Hmm.
then we also see a lot of stars, who are really coming
Yeah.
forward and saying, I'm going to make my own content. I want to write
Yeah.
something, direct something that I want to see. So I love that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I forgot to mention Erica. She's been another what I would call revolutionary.
Yes, yes.
So you're both an erotic novelist and an erotic writer for Shush.com. How did you become an erotic writer?
Well, Bruce, it was funny because I never thought that anyone would ever read my erotic stories and that I would not allow, I would not allow it because basically I grew up in Muncie, Indiana. I was a farmer's daughter and,
Boy.
a very conservative, not politically conservative, but morally conservative to the extreme in my
Yes, of
household.
course. Of course.
And, so we never talked about sex really. And, but I just was just always a very romantic person, and started
Hmm.
my teens very, just sensual, curious about things. And so I basically started writing erotica just as a way to deal with my feelings, and it's a good thing too because I'm notorious for having very poor penmanship. So luckily, the times that people did come upon my writing, they couldn't read it. And, but yeah, I just started writing erotica, just to deal with my own feelings. But then when I started reading it to friends of mine, they were just like, oh, wow, like, especially back in college was when I really started sharing it.
Hmm.
And I get these phone calls.
Sure.
Have you written any more of that story? Could I here's a little more of
Hmm.
that story? And I'm like, well, is it an emergency? Or, and so I'd read a little bit to the story. And, then I actually started printing up some stories that I did and selling them to girls on campus, because
Hmm.
they became that popular. And so then I just went
Interesting.
on. I had my first publication in the mid 2000s, and I started.
Hmm.
I am now currently primarily with Satin Romance, which is a division of Melange. And yeah, so I just kind of laid the groundwork. And again, I wanted to present a more feminist viewpoint. And I wanted to show that you could have like a consensual relationship, and very respectful, but it could still be hot, and I wanted
Hmm.
to show women in more positions of power, and so
Exactly.
it's and actually my novel Leading Lady should be coming out in a few months. So
Fabulous.
yes. Mhm.
That's great. So now, how did you first get into the adult industry through your work with Playgirl?
Yes, well, I tell you, it's interesting because I was a Playgirl reader since college, and that's all I was a fan. I had
Hmm.
I had no connections in the adult industry at all. But I happened to be on a message board, and somebody said something about Playgirl TV, and this is back in the mid 2000s, and I'm like, what?
Hmm.
Finally? It's about time. I mean, how long have they had Playboy TV? And so
Sure.
then I Googled Playgirl TV, and I saw that it was going to be like a cable channel, view on demand. And so I wrote in all I wanted to do. I thought I'd never hear back. I thought they're probably getting so many notes, I probably won't even register. But, I sent in an email and I said, I just want to say I support this 100%. I'd like more information if possible. And so there's a wonderful lady named Hedda Eisenberg who was with Playgirl Marketing. And she said,
Hmm.
this website is really only for marketing people. And my first thought was, uh-oh, did I do something wrong? But then she said, it's amazing. You're really interested in this, aren't you? And I said, yeah, kind of. And so we started talking, and almost every day we were talking back and forth. She was asking me for ideas. And pretty soon, Bruce, I went from being a Playgirl reader to being the national leader of the Playgirl fan club, the Playgirl posse.
Wow.
I had a column in Playgirl magazine. I was writing back cover copy for Playgirl DVDs. And
Good.
I just totally, I mean, it was amazing to me that I would be given such a national platform, and through that, I met so many other interesting women, and I really began to meet other women that were like me, and I was also able to represent the female point of view. Like when there were people who
Sure.
would just insist that women didn't read Playgirl, and I'd be like, last time I checked, I am indeed a woman, and I'm the head of the
Exactly.
Playgirl fan club. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Sure. And that's originally what Playgirl was for. Was
Yes,
obviously for women. What are some of the
yes.
challenges? Yeah. What are some of the challenges of being a sex positive feminist?
I think that probably the number one challenge is what took me out of the business for several years is
Hmm.
that there was a time after Playgirl pretty much shut down. I did do some writing with Good Vibrations, which is another wonderful company, and started writing for
Hmm.
Scandalous Women. It was fantastic.
Hmm.
But other than that, I just didn't see a lot, that was remaining for women. And honestly, what I was seeing started to disturb me. I started to see a lot more roughness, even in mainstream, titles.
Yep.
Just
Hmm.
more roughness, violence,
Yep.
objectification. And, I just really, I think I got to a point, I never for one second was an anti porn feminist because I believe so strongly in freedom of speech,
Hmm.
but I also got to the point where I was like, I, I can't do this anymore. I can't watch this. I can't represent it.
Mm.
I can't.
Sure.
And so that really took me out of it, and I tried to concentrate more on just my writing. I got into kind of like audio erotica, like ASMR and things like
Hmm.
that. But then when I started to watch more of Angie's work, it shook, and also, Miss Naughty was still going strong, Jennifer Lyon Bell.
Hmm.
And I also began to see new and emerging names, coming in and taking over. And I started to see more of what I liked again. And also, it occurred
Hmm.
to me, I thought, you can't change and improve an industry by leaving it. I
That's true.
wanted to be there to be a voice for women. I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to be there, of course, in case any woman needed help. I believe very
Mm.
much in performer advocacy and total consent in
Yes.
all situations. And so that's why I came back, you know.
That's awesome.
Thank
And the whole idea of the roughness and the rough sex in porn, that's obviously there's a lot of controversy around that right now. What's your feeling about that?
Well, I think that, first of all, personally, I don't like it. I'm not into it at
Yeah,
all. I am not into
I'm not
roughness at
either.
all. Now, I do believe that there are certain people of both genders who have, of course, certain fetishes and fantasies. And if the content, I know another great site out there is Afterglow, and I know that Lily
Hmm.
Sparks, the fantastic head of Afterglow, she reminds me, don't yuck somebody else's yum. And so
I love that.
yeah, yes. And I realize that's another part of being a feminist is giving women agency
Sure.
if they do choose to act out these fantasies in a safe, consensual forum. For
Hmm.
me, it's always safety first, consent first. Um, but to me,
Yes.
though, I would also like to play a hand in having content that is totally nonviolent. It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be a Harlequin romance every time. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm just saying that I'd like to see more respect. I'd like to see more empowered women. And, when you think about what Candida Royale, was producing, that of course she's no longer with us, but that just more like that, more of an option, because I honestly know of women who will just not watch porn because of that perception that they're going to see something just awful.
Yep.
And so I,
Yep.
I want to provide more options, definitely.
Who are some of the interesting people you've interviewed?
Yes, interesting people that I've interviewed. Also like for Sexpert. Let's see. I'll start with Scandalous Women because I was there first. As I said, everyone from
Why don't I ask the
Eric.
question again, Megan? Why don't I ask the question
Uh
again?
huh.
Then it'll flow a little better. Okay. Okay. So
Okay.
who are some of the interesting people you? Okay, let's try this again. Who are some of the interesting people you've interviewed?
Oh, okay. Yes. Well, now for my Feminist Sexpert interview series, I have two categories. Basically, I interview women who are content creators. Now, these could either be directors, like I've interviewed Angie
Hmm.
Roundtree, Lily
Hmm.
Sparks, and Inca Winters, Jennifer Lyon Bell,
Hmm.
just Ms. Naughty, just really fantastic directors. And then I have also interviewed actresses who create their own content, very empowered. You
Hmm.
want to talk about empowered? I've interviewed Goddess Lilith.
Oh
Yes,
well.
talk about
Yeah.
very powerful woman, and Penny
Yes.
Barber, um, and Avery Jane, and
Hmm.
Rebecca Vanguard. And
Hmm.
these are women of all different ages and backgrounds, but the common denominator is that they take a great deal of pride in what they do. They are very proud feminists.
Hmm.
And, they really take a proactive, very view and a very responsible view of what they do. And
Hmm.
then, as far as the men that I interview, I do take my interviews with the male talent seriously and respectfully because I
Hmm.
feel that they usually don't get a lot of a platform.
It's true.
They usually don't, a lot of people don't recognize their names beyond the Manuel Ferreira, or, it's like there are just a couple that everybody recognizes, and then the other guys are just, you don't hear a lot about them. And so I've gone
It's
out of
true.
my way to really spotlight male talent. And the two requirements generally, first of all, they have to be respectful of women, in their who they
Mm-hmm.
work for and their performances. And second
Mm-hmm.
of all, well, it kind of helps if they're hot. And the reason the reason being is that my readers are women, and they're
Yes.
looking for, whose name do I look for when I'm buying a video?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
what do I when I look for that download? What guy do I want to see? And
Yeah.
so yes, it's like I've interviewed Joshua Lewis, who's one of the younger performers. I've interviewed Dante Cole, who's just
Mm-hmm.
skyrocketing with his career. I've interviewed
Sure.
Nathan Bronson. I've interviewed Brick Cummings, who is an up and
Mm-hmm.
coming African American gentleman. And
No pun
my next
intended.
one is
Yes.
very interesting. uh, Yes, yes, and my next one is Daryl Jones, who is actually
Hmm.
very interesting. He's an Instagram model and a fitness star who has just started an OnlyFans, and he's also going into hardcore, with his
Hmm.
movies. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a little different
Interesting.
with the men because I like to provide the ladies with a little fantasy. I
Sure.
like to, I always like to run a lot, maybe more pictures of the men and maybe a bit more tastefully revealing, and because there's just, I know Domina, who with the Sexpert, a fantastic lady, and
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Ava Cadell is the
Mm-hmm.
head, and I just interviewed her today. She's fantastic. Domina, she was telling me,
Mm-hmm.
she said, I don't think anybody else is doing what you do, you know? And I got to thinking, and I thought,
Right.
maybe she's right. Because there are very few women who go out of their way to interview the male talent from a woman's
Sure.
perspective. They
Yeah.
might
Yeah.
interview the male talent, but it's usually a lot of guys saying, "So, dude, what's it like to work with so and
Yeah.
so, or what's it get to
Yeah.
bang all these beautiful ladies, man, high fives,"
Exactly.
and
Exactly. Yep.
with me,
Yep. I know.
what I want to know is, yeah, yeah, and with me,
Mm-hmm.
what I want to know is, how do you treat women on set? Do you like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you please your female talent? What female directors do you like to work with? And, what
Mm-hmm.
would you like to say to your audience? And
Right.
how do you want to lure the ladies in, And so,
Sure.
yeah, that was something very different. And those scandalous women, yes, I've interviewed everybody from erotica authors, like Laurel K. Hamilton, to film directors like Erica Lust. I recently interviewed the legendary Hypatia Lee, who's a good friend of
Mm-hmm.
mine. And a lot of people have been wondering what happened to her. And she's actually she's no longer an adult, but she has a native
Mm-hmm.
strength, kind of like a self motivation program. And,
Hmm.
she's really into wellness and healing. And she looks
Nice.
exactly like she did when she made her movies. Not changed a bit.
Wow.
And I'm going to
Not
be
a bad
interviewing
thing.
Dr. Ava Cadell. And
Hmm.
yes, yes. Hmm.
That's awesome. Did you ever, you were
Yeah.
speaking of male talent,
Okay.
did you ever interview Porno Dan?
No, I haven't. No,
Oh, he's awesome. He's been on
but
he's been on my podcast and
yeah,
he's fantastic. And I believe very respectful to women.
oh,
So, yes, yes,
oh,
that's
good.
my
Yes,
perception. Not that I've
yes.
watched much of his content, but knowing the guy, yeah, I know he's a wonderful person.
Hmm.
So, how do you hope to bridge the
Oh,
gap
good.
between porn and erotica?
Well, I would like to see more filmed adaptions of erotic stories and novels. And I have seen a little bit of that
Mm-hmm.
in the work of, like, for Adam and Eve, like with Kay Brandt,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
Selena Kitt. Interestingly enough, Selena Kitt was a Playgirl posse girl. She was a member
Hmm.
of the Playgirl fan club
Interesting.
back in the day. And,
Interesting. Wow.
yes, yes, and I know that at Shu, we have some wonderful erotica authors, and yeah. So what I would like to see more filmed adaptions of erotica, and
Hmm.
also I would just like to see more of like a literary bent in some of the films.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
more of a story and more unique and diverse and woman friendly
Amen.
stories. Like, I would love to see. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, there was this production by Vivid, like way back in the 90s called Immortal Desire. I believe it was Philip Christian. It was starring
Mm-mm.
Jerry Pike and Sarah Jane Hamilton. And
Hmm.
it was a time travel historical romance. It was beautiful. It's one of the most
Hmm.
beautiful love stories I've ever seen on film. And it was a Vivid production. It was a Vivid Visuals production. And, and so I'm thinking, why don't we see more of that today? It's like I would love to go
There's a
back. It
few.
seemed like,
Yeah, I think there's a few independent producers who do that type of thing. Junk Productions is
yes.
one, and
Uh
I
huh.
think that you're starting to see more of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yes, yes, I would.
So
Yes, and another thing I would like to see is in terms of some of the male, I like going back to that, the male talent to be more showcased for the female view,
hmm,
because I know that we did that with Playgirl, where they would have
right.
the men's names first and that they would have the focus on the men and also with
Yes.
Impulse, which Lily at Afterglow is actually bringing back some of the Impulse titles, and I'm very excited about. But yeah, I mean that today, that's something we really need more of, I believe, and so I can watch.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, just something
Exactly.
more for the ladies out there, just more showcase titles with the men, more focus on the men. Mm.
Absolutely. So now you said you're particularly interested in giving women more of a voice in the industry. In what way is that?
Yes, well, I really want to hear more of what women want. I want to hear more from female audience members as to what they like in particular. I would love to see more writers and critics, and of course, more
Hmm.
directors and producers. And I
Yep.
also would like to hear more of a voice in terms of obviously safety and consent on set,
Yes.
because when we consider the fact that, it seems like there are certain people that are discussed that will say, well, he doesn't treat the women well, or he did that, but then the
Hmm.
guy just keeps working in the industry year after year after year.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
it seems like that with the Me Too movement, it has infiltrated the industry a little bit, but not that
Hmm.
much. It seems like, with
No,
the
not enough.
industry, no, absolutely. You're right. You're right. Because, we'll hear accusations, we'll hear detailed stories, similar stories from a lot of women that if it was any other industry, he'd be turned out on his ear, by now, but it
Be in
seems like
prison.
an adult. Yes, that's right. That's right. And it's just barely grazing the surface, and I just want to get to a point where every woman can feel comfortable and safe on set, and that there's more
Yep.
advocacy, and that if something goes wrong, that they have somebody to turn to, and that they feel like they have
Yes.
agency. They don't just feel like, well, gosh, I'm not going to get my rent paid if I don't go along with this, so I'll just say I had a good experience. That's got to stop. And
Yes.
so
I agree.
ultimately, the most important voice to me is to ensure safety and consent.
So, Megan, what's your idea of the perfect women's porn?
I believe that it is a production in which the woman's pleasure and comfort are emphasized. I believe that it is something in which the attractiveness of the male stars is emphasized and that you actually see
Mm-hmm.
them. I know
Mm-hmm.
that Coral and Jewel, she had a brilliant quote. She was like, "Well, sometimes we're up there, you can't tell what we're effing. We can't tell what we're, you can't even see the men, or, and
Yeah.
so to me, it would be something that has a good story, that has some romance,
Yeah.
empowered women,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful men, and something that a woman will want to return, just like she might pick up her favorite romance novel again and again. This is a movie that she will want to watch again and again, and that she can think about and smile after she's seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure. Makes sense. So, what concerns do you have about modern porn?
again, I'm concerned about the extreme roughness. I'm concerned about the prevalence of roughness even in mainstream titles, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
with no warning of the content.
Sure.
I'm concerned about onset conditions. And, that definitely, I do have a lot of concerns. And other than that, also, I would love to. It seemed like we had almost like a renaissance when I think about the work of everyone from, Candida Royale, to
Mm-hmm.
even some of the male directors like Michael Ninn. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it seemed like for a while they were really producing these just almost like masterpieces of adult, and I know
Yeah.
that that is returning. I know that you do see some very, like with the productions of Angie Roundtree and Shua and all the
Mm-hmm.
people that we've mentioned, and of course with Caden Cross, with Deeper,
Mm-hmm.
and Vixen.
Sure.
I realize that that is returning. But
Sure.
because to me, that's what's sexy. To me, it's not just about seeing a bunch of bodies, kind of going at each other. To me,
Right.
it's more like the style and the glamour that I really
Yeah.
like.
I agree. It would be nice to see. It
Yes.
would definitely be nice to see. How do you hope to build more of a
Yes.
network among women in porn?
Well, to me, it's something that I'm very excited about. And it's just like I was discussing on the phone with Angie Roundtree the other day. It's almost like we're building a fortress, in terms of when I see more and more women that are getting active, and also from a personal standpoint, when I see collaborations being formed, and when I can say, okay, I have a friend who is really interested in writing, she should get hooked up
Mhm.
with this director, or I have a friend who, has a concern. I should get her hooked up with someone who will listen, to that concern. And, I can tell that with the directors that I've talked to, with the actresses and
Mhm.
the writers and the content creators, we are we're forming more of a network, and I can
Mhm.
just see our strength rising in numbers. And for me, I would love to see. I mean, I know that Angie has ethical porn. I definitely want to do more work in that area. Also, I would love to bring back Feminist for Free Expression, the Pink
Mm.
Ladies. I know that Hypatia, she sent me an honorary Pink Ladies button online. And, just more advocacy and just more of a network. I mean, I love it when, like, my friend Holly, who does the Parties by Bellas, she was
Oh, okay.
looking for
Hmm.
some models to do, documentaries about. And so I got her on an
Hmm.
email chain, with Lily and Corlin. And I'm like, hey, sister friends, come here, circle, And I'm like, Holly needs some talent, to showcase in her new documentary series. And so immediately Lily and Corlin are like, yes, we'd love to participate, And so for
Yeah,
me,
those
it's
two.
about partnerships.
Those two
And
are those two definitely those two. Sorry, those two. We seem to have a delay. Those two definitely are doers big time. Corlin and
yes,
Lily.
yes, 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 and absolutely, and delightful, and yeah,
Yes.
we're referring, like, if I am talking to, like, Rebecca Vanguard or Avery Jane, just about making, or Lilith, like, just about making connections, making things happen.
Mhm.
Oh, I know this lady who's doing this, and I was like, to me, it's a network, and also when I posted on my
Mhm.
Feminist Sexpert Twitter, about during award season when Angie got a big
Mhm.
XBiz nomination and Belicia House, of
Yep.
course, fantastic, Jackie St. James, they were getting all of these
Mhm.
nominations, and
Yeah.
Afterglow, was getting nominations for, and also Foreplay
Mhm.
Films, Inca Winters, all of these women,
Mhm.
scoring big nominations, for these sites. And I just printed in Blush Erotica, Stacey Lyle. And so I just did
Yep.
a list of that in one tweet, and I said, the sisterhood is strong. And to me,
Fantastic.
that's what it's all about. Hmm.
You sound like the you definitely sound like the ringleader there.
Oh, thank you. I would be honored, honored to think so. I tell you, that's why I'm here. And yes,
Fantastic.
that's what I try, just to bring everybody together, and
That's
there's
awesome.
always strength in numbers. And
Mhm.
so, yes, as
Agreed.
I always say too, the revolution is live.
Indeed. Indeed. So tell us about some of your other non-adult projects.
Yes, well, I do quite a bit of journalism. I do
Mhm.
quite a bit of journalistic writing. I do a lot of feminist advocacy. I've
Mhm.
also been a columnist for Legendary Women magazine,
Mhm.
and I'm the co host of the Lavender Ladies podcast with my friend
Ah,
Margaret Bates. And
okay.
so, yes, I do a lot of feminist advocates of advocacy, especially on behalf of, rape and domestic violence
It's
survivors.
awesome.
And, I write about issues. I have some political causes. And I actually got a certificate of appreciation from a statewide domestic violence awareness board and sexual assault
It's
board
awesome.
for some of my coverage. And so, yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm very active in journalism, advocacy, also marketing writing. I do
Mhm.
quite a bit of, like, in terms of product descriptions, press releases,
Mhm.
and things like that. And I also I write some sweet romance too.
Oh.
Because I always wanted to write something that my family could read when my parents were still alive, that they could read,
Yeah.
with my nephews and nieces, that
Mhm.
I just really felt like, I wanted them to be able to enjoy some of my work, and to put
Nice.
it on their put it on their bookcase, so
So
yes.
you're yeah, you don't want your family in Indiana reading too much of the hot sticky stuff, I guess, huh?
No, no, and I tell you, it was funny, for Christmas one year, I actually gave my mom, a copy of a sweet romance book, that I had written, and thank God I
Aw.
actually looked at it on Christmas Eve before I wrapped it, because there was a title page, that had the title of the book, And then it said, and to read the other titles by Megan Hussey. And then it had all these
Uh-oh.
naughty books that I had written that she didn't know about.
Oops.
And so thankfully
Oops.
I saw that, and I swear,
Yeah, we don't want
I just ripped
yeah,
out the title page.
we don't want mom from Indiana having a heart attack.
No, no, I didn't want to be responsible.
Exactly. So, what are your future plans for sexpert.com?
Well, actually, today I got the very kind invitation from Dr. Ava Cadell herself to actually
Hmm.
participate in her Loveology University. And
Ooh,
through my studies there, I will be able to become a certified sex coach and also to teach at
wow.
Loveology, and also maybe
Mm-hmm.
to do some media, for that.
Jeez.
And again, what I really want to emphasize through there is also, of course, helping women who maybe have trouble with their sexuality because of past
Mm-hmm.
trauma or abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in general, just helping women to enjoy, in general, to not be ashamed, and to
Yep.
enjoy their sexuality more in whatever way they choose. If they want to write,
Mm-hmm.
if they want to perform, or if they just want to enjoy a good porno, that. And
Yeah.
also, I want to give them lots of. I'm actually working on a directory of femme porn, to let ladies know about these titles. And so I figure that I also
It's
might have a
great.
course eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, so she's very kindly invited me to come aboard, and I'm
Wow.
honored. And so yes, that's an
Yeah.
exclusive because I just found out a few hours ago that I'd be doing this.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations. So,
Thank
so how
you.
can people find you? How can people find you online?
Yes, well, you can see my work at sexpert.com. You can see my work
Mm,
at sSSH.com. You can, I have a website for my erotic writing. Now, my titles are available on Amazon. You can also
okay.
find me at http://goldenmuse.tripod.com.
Okay.
And also, most of my titles these days are available through Satin Romance, which is a division of Milan or Melange publications. And then, of course,
Mm-hmm.
also I have some, I have some filmed, the works that I have written, the screenplays for at Blush
Mm-hmm.
Erotica. And I'm also going to be doing some erotic writing for their site as well, because they have a whole
That's
page,
great.
for erotic writing.
Fabulous. Well, Megan, I'd really like to thank you for being our guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk, and I hope we'll get a chance to do this again really soon.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity, Bruce. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. The pleasure was all mine. My broker tip today is part 7 of what to do to make your site more valuable for when you decide to sell it later. Let's talk about some of the factors that influence the sale price of a website. Number 1 is always profit. It will be a multiple of the profit, and that multiple is based on whether the profit is trending up or trending down and how fast it's trending up or down. I've seen valuations of as much as 5 times, although that's very rare. Normally, it's in the 2.5 to 4 times area. I've also seen valuations of 1 time if the profit is taking a nosedive. If a site hasn't been monetized, then it's all about the amount and the quality of the traffic. If a sale is based on traffic, it will be a multiple of what the traffic would sell for on the open market. What are the sources of traffic? Direct traffic, search engine traffic, and review traffic are the most valuable, tube traffic the least valuable. Is the traffic reliable and sustainable? What is the traffic history? In a rare case, the valuation will be based upon revenue. The same factors apply to that as to profit, and the valuations will, of course, be lower than those of profits. How old is the website? Is the website a .com or something else? .com is still king. How many inbound links are there? How much staff does it take to run the site? How many email addresses do you have? In the case of a dating site, this is very important. Another factor can be the reverse engineering cost. How much would it cost to build the site from scratch and drive the same amount of traffic to it, and how much time would be involved? What's the lifetime value of a customer on the site? Next week, how to buy a website. And next week, we'll be speaking with therapist team Stephanie and Fox of Evolve Your Intimacy. And that's it for this week's Adult Site Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guest, Megan Hussey. Talk to you again next week on Adult Site Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.